Well, students, so far we have read that the idea which Bertrand Russell is trying to pursue or trying to tell us is that why there should be a kind of opposition between machines and emotions. He says that we generally like machines as a small boy likes automobile toys. In the same manner, we like machines. And he gives an example that okay, the person who has installed that machine or who has purchased that machine, he doesn't have to see that ugly face of that machine, that it makes you its slave, it has a lot of noise, it creates a lot of pollution and all those things. So and he says that even if you tell to that owner about all these things, that okay, these machines have this problem and all this, then he has a ready answer. And what is that answer? That due to the implantation of this machine, due to the working of this machine, the company, the mill, has been able to produce more things, and due to that raised production, the employees, the laborers, they are able to buy more things. And he said if we go by the general idea, general theory, that happiness is proportionate to things. The more things you have, the more happy you will be. Then he says it's quite obvious that we should be far more happier than our forefathers, than our grandparents, because obviously the income has risen, and the things which we possess, they have also risen. So that's what he is trying to say now. The assumption is that the possession of material commodities is what makes man happy. He said this assumption, this general assumption, that if we have more things, then we will be more happier than our grandfathers, great grandfathers. So he said that the assumption, the theory, the supposition, the idea behind this possession mentality is what? That the possession of material commodities, if we have more material commodity, material facilities, material things, then we will be more happy. This is what is the general idea assumed by everybody. It is thought that a man has two rooms and two beds and two loads must be twice as happy as a man who has one room and one bed and one loaf. So now look at the way in which the assist has explained this thing, that okay, if we assume this idea, if we follow this idea that if you have more things then you will be more happy, then it means that if a person has two rooms, two beds, and two pieces of bread with him, then he must be twice as happy than the person who has one room, one bed, and one loaf of bread. So, do you think that is it applicable in this manner? Because if you are talking about one single person, then I think that two rooms or two beds is more than necessary for him. That is the thing which the writer is trying to impress upon us. In a word, it is thought that happiness is proportional to income. He said, in a word, simply we can say that nowadays in this materialistic world, in this industrial world, it is thought that happiness is proportional to income. The more we earn, the more income we have, the more happy we will be. This is what is generally believed. A few people, not always quite sincerely, challenge this idea in the name of religion or morality. And he says, a few people, not always quite sincerely, but some people are there who challenge this idea. Which idea? To have more income is to have more happiness. To have more money is to have more happiness. To possess more thing is to be more happy. So he says that this idea is challenged by some people in the name of religion or morality, because religious ideologies, the moral ideologies, the moral values, they teach us not to possess more things. They teach us to be honest in our earnings and our spendings, and we should be a bit disciplined in this manner according to the moral or religious dictates. But he says that, but they are glad if they increase their income by the eloquence of their preaching. He says those people who oppose this idea of having more things, of having more money, is opposed by some people. Who are the people? They are the religious preachers. But he says, on the contrary, they themselves are happy if they increase their income by the eloquence of their preaching, by the art of their speaking, by giving those sermons, by giving those lectures. If they are being able to earn more and more money, then they will be far more happy. This is what is generally happening. This is what is generally done by these people, that they, as we have seen everywhere, the examples that all these Aztecs, those saints, है ना, साधु महात्मा जो भी होते हैं, what they do, they preach us to leave this world, ये मोह माया त्याग दो, and to give it where? त्याग के देने का है उनके आश्रम में. So this is what he is trying to say. It is not from a moral or religious point of view that I wish to challenge it. But the writer says that I am not opposing it, I am not challenging it, I am not arguing against it on the point of religious or moral dictates, or those religious or moral points of view. What he is trying to say, it is from the point of view of psychology and observation of life. He says, I am trying to oppose it, or I want to oppose it on the basis of psychological observations of life. That what is our psychology? What the psychological observation of life says. If happiness is proportional to income, the case for machinery is unanswerable. He says, okay, if we believe in this thing, if we accept this thing in this manner, that happiness is proportional to income, means the more income you have, the more happy you will be. If you believe in this thing, then obviously the case for machinery is unanswerable, because it is quite obvious that machines have raised the production, and due to that machines have raised our income also. So if he says that if we believe in this theory, that yes, income and happiness are quite proportional to each other, then it is quite obvious that yes, we have to accept the machineries, the importance of machineries. But if not, if that is not the case, that happiness is proportional to income, the whole question remains to be examined. Then the whole question remains to be examined because until or unless we believe in this theory that yes, happiness is proportional to, then the whole question remains to be examined again. Because if that is not so, if happiness is not being equalized with the money, with the income, then we have to examine this whole idea again from a new point of view. And what is that? Man may have physical needs and they have emotions. Now, he says that, okay, if we examine this from that psychological point of view or from that observatory point of view of life, then we know two things, that men have physical needs and they have emotions. All the men. They have two things in common. Generally, we all, as human beings, we have these two things. One is our physical needs. Our body needs some physical things, and we have emotions also. Means we have both these two things, emotions as well as physical needs. Sorry. While physical needs are unsatisfied, they take first place. And he says that yes, while the physical needs are unsatisfied, suppose we are hungry, suppose we are thirsty, then obviously we have to think of satiating our thirst or satiating our hunger first, because he says because till we have some physical needs, then obviously we have to go for those physical needs first. But when they are satisfied, emotions unconnected with them become important in deciding whether a man is to be happy or unhappy. Then he says, but once when we have fulfilled our physical needs, when we have uh, gained the satiation of our physical needs, then he says the emotions which are not connected with those physical needs, means the emotions connected with hunger, the emotions connected with thirst, the emotions connected with security, the emotions connected with living place, those they are satiated, they are satisfied. Once we have eaten, now we don't have the emotions towards hunger. But then emotions which are quite different from them, then they started to take the importance, and then they decide whether a man is to be happy or unhappy. Now he will give examples of this thing. He says that in modern industrial communities, there are many men, women, and children whose bare physical needs are not adequately supplied. He says in modern this industrial society, there are many men, women, and children who still have not access to satisfy their physical needs totally. That is what is the reality, that even there are people who are unable to satisfy their physical needs. As regards them, I do not deny that the first requisite for happiness is an increase of income. He says, yes, if we talk about them, if we took them into consideration, if we think about them only, then yes, it is quite obvious that we must think of increasing the income to increase their happiness. But they are a minority, and it would not be difficult to give the bare necessities of life to all of them. But it says they are in a very small proportion. They uh, count to a very small number, and to supply all these adequate things to that small number of people is not a big thing. It is not a difficult thing. It is quite possible easily to supply with these bare necessities to them, like food, shelter, clothing, etc. It is not of them that I wish to speak, but of those who have more than is necessary to support existence. Not only those who have much more, but also those who have only a little more. And he says, what I am talking about, or whom I am addressing to, are not those people who has not satisfied their physical needs, but I am talking about those people who have much more than what they really need. Means who has in their possession much more than their basic needs. So he says, I am talking about those persons, not. And he says, I am not only talking about those who have much more than they needed, I am also talking about those who have only little more. Means, yes, they have more than their needs. So he says, I am not only talking about those people who have much more possessions to them than their basic needs. I am also addressing, I am also talking about those people who have a little more than what they need actually. So this is it for the day. Thank you.